Hey, welcome to another grammar video. This is the second of the active and passive videos. In the first video we looked at a sort of introduction as to what the active and passive voices and verb forms are. In this video we'll look at how we can construct a passive sentence using the passive verb form from an active sentence. Because as we talked about before, the active voice is probably the most commonly used one and used most of the time. So let's grab ourselves an active sentence. The Athenians defeated the Persian army. Now this is a straightforward active sentence. We've got our verb defeated in the past tense here. We have our subject, which in this case is the Athenians. And we have our object, which is the Persians. They were the thing being defeated. Well, the Persian army. Let's use the Persian army. So the Athenians defeated the Persian army. Now this is in the active voice because the Athenians, the subjects, are doing the defeating. They are the ones doing the defeating. They are the verb that is doing it. They're actively doing the defeating of the Persian army. So to turn this into the passive, and a lot of people think about it as in sort of swapping the sentence round. So it's almost like flipping it around. So what we do is we start by taking the object of the previous sentence, which in this case was the Persian army, and that now becomes our new subject. So we've shifted the focus, as we talked about before. The passive voice shifts the focus of, well, the topic of the sentence really. So now the subject is the Persians, the Persian army. That becomes our new subject. Now we actually keep basically the same meaning between an active sentence and a passive sentence that are the same. They retain the same meaning. We just need to change things around a bit. So now we need to say, what we will be saying now is that the defeating was affecting the Persian army. So the Persian army, the subject now, is not actively doing anything, but it is being defeated. So we keep the same verb, but we need to add an extra verb in front of it, an auxiliary verb, if you will. And that auxiliary verb is always from the verb to be. Now I'll just move this down actually so we give ourselves a bit of room. So it is always from the verb to be. Now this is a very, very common verb, but it's one that is often either looked over or mistaken for different verbs, because when we conjugate it, so when we change it into its different verb forms depending on who's doing it or when it's being done, it's highly irregular. So we have some verbs that are irregular, which means they don't follow the rule of adding, for instance, ed to the end of them when they're done in the past tense. So for example, the verb run, if we run in the past, it's not runned, it's ran. And it's the same with to be, but it's really irregular and it changes depending on who's doing it, how many people are doing it, and when it's being done. So it's always useful to work out what the verb to be looks like. So if I was being, I would say in the present tense. So let's start over here with the present form of to be. So in the present, I would say I am whatever it is. I am happy. You wouldn't say I be happy. Maybe if you were trying to imitate some form of regional accent, which I shan't mention, you might say I be happy. But actually, you would say I am happy. Now, if I was talking about you, in the second person, I would say you are happy. You wouldn't say you be happy. Now if I was talking about somebody else who was a man or a woman, you would say he or she is happy. See, 3 different words and we still haven't had the verb to be, but these are all the same verb. They're all expressing the same doing action, or sorry, in this case, being action. If it was an inanimate object, you would say it is the robot. It is happy. Or the robot. It is angry. So they're all singular people or things. When we're talking about one person, either it's me or you or he or she or it. Now you also have plural ones, so you might say we, and that version is are. We are happy. Or they are happy. So you can see we've got 3 different versions of that in the present tense: am, are, is, are. In the past tense, if I said I again, I would say I was happy. I was happy yesterday. And I'm still happy now, don't worry. You wouldn't say I beed happy. Again, for you, you were happy. You were happy yesterday, and you still are today. That's one that often gets mixed up in speech. We're starting to see more people say you was happy, but just bear in mind that it is you were happy. Then you would say he or she was happy. Which is the same as the personal one. And then you would say it. it was raining yesterday. Or the robot, it was angry. Then we would go for we, and we go back to we were happy yesterday. Same one, you've got to be careful of that. It's not we was happy, it's we were happy. And then they, again with the plural, they were happy. So these ones are for plural subjects, so when you're talking about more than one person or thing, and these are for singular, so when you're talking about one thing or person. So we need to add the right form of this. Now, in this case, the Persian army, although it is made up of many people, an army, it is actually still only one. It counts as a singular noun because it is an army altogether. So then we would use, and now it's happened in the past, this happened in the past, we know that because it's got defeated there. So we would use was. So the Persian army was. So that's a rather long discussion, but it's useful to go through the verb to be. So we go back to constructing the passive voice here. We had the Persian army was, then we use the same verb that was in the sentence, but we put it in its past participle, which in this case would be defeated. Now some verbs have different past participles, but we won't go into that just yet. So the Persian army was defeated, and then we can always add at the end by who defeated them, who's doing the action. So we could say by the Athenians. And then we have our passive sentence. Now the Athenians were the subject, but now they are known, if you want the grammatical term, as the agent. So the thing or person who is responsible for the actions. The Persian army is still the subject, and the verb is the same, although we have to add, it's the past participle, and we have to add the extra verb to be, depending on what form it is here. So that's how we construct the passive voice. So it's kept the same meaning because the Persian army is still being defeated no matter what, but it shifts the focus a little bit. It shifts the topic of the sentence. So no longer is the Athenians the topic, it's the Persian army. The Persian army was defeated by the Athenians would be the passive, and the active is the Athenians defeated the Persian army. So we'll just have a look at another example here. So if I just grab ourselves some line paper, and I think we're going to need to borrow our verb chart here. Oh, I don't know where that's come from. Copy and paste. My old nemesis. There we go. So let's choose this time something in the present tense. So let's say the sun creates light. Now we follow the same rules again, so create is our verb, the sun is our subject, and light is the object of the sentence. So the sun is actively doing the creating now. So to turn it into the passive, we do the same thing. We have our object here, the light, so we would start that as our new subject of the sentence, the new topic, light. Then once again we're going to grab and add to be in front of the verb create. So in this case, light. Now this is where we express the presentness of it. So this is where we say that it's in the sort of present tense. Because creates, the original verb is in the present tense, it's not in the past tense, we need to choose the correct present tense here. Now we're not going to use am, which we did for the other one, because that just doesn't sound right. Light am. So we're using the third person here, is. So light is, so that is how we express that it is in the present tense, because actually with the passive we still need to use the past participle of the verb. So we're going to have to change the verb from creates to is created, which in this case is the same as the past tense. So light is created, and then if we want to say by who or whom, light is created by the sun. And the sun becomes our agent then, the object or thing who is responsible for the action. So although we have used the past participle of the verb create, it's expressed in the present tense by this auxiliary verb here, is. If we used a different one, so if we say, put it in the past, say light was created by the sun, it would be slightly worrying, because that suggests that it's no longer created by the sun, and there may be mass hysteria across the world when they find out there's no more sunlight. So that's how we would create a passive sentence in the present tense. And that's how we construct passive sentences from active ones. So until next time, keep grammaring, keep having fun.